The galaxy had seen many wars but nothing like this moment. On the far edge of space, inside the Car Dominion War Hall, hundreds of alien leaders gathered around a giant hologram of Earth. They were tall, armored, cold-blooded creatures with hard voices and sharper minds. For years they had expanded their empire, taking small worlds, destroying weak species, and bending others to their will. Now they looked at Earth with the same hungry eyes. To them, Earth was nothing. A small blue world. A simple human species. A planet with no large empire, no great fleets, no ancient technology. Just humans. Weak. Emotional. Slow. That's what the Dominion believed. The Car Supreme Commander stepped forward. His claws tapped the metal floor as he spoke. Transmit the message. Let Earth know their place. The war chamber lights dimmed. Their message was sent across the galaxy, riding on crystal wave frequencies that could reach Earth in seconds. It carried a simple order. Earth, surrender your planet or face complete destruction. No emotion. No negotiation. Just domination. The car waited for Earth's reply. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. 1 hour. Nothing. The Supreme Commander smiled. They know they are defeated. But deep inside something bothered him. Too quiet. Too still. The first sign of wrong. Thousands of light years away, near the car border, a small observation station floated in open space. The station's workers were relaxed. They expected Earth to beg for mercy soon. Then, the alarm screamed. The station shook violently. What was that? An officer shouted. A technician stared at his scanner, confused. The reading made no sense. Something is entering our space, he said. But it's not a ship. How can it not be a ship? The commander asked. The technician's voice cracked. It's like a storm. A moving storm. The scanner screen changed again. A shape formed inside the wave, dark, large, silent. A human transmission is coming through, someone yelled. The commander froze. What does it say? The technician swallowed hard. It only says 2 words. Everyone leaned closer. The technician whispered. It's human. Then the station lights went out. The screens turned black. All sounds stopped. For 10 long seconds the crew stood in complete silence. Slowly the lights flickered back on, but the scanner showed nothing. The storm was gone. The object vanished. And the entire space around them felt wrong, like reality had been bent for a moment. The commander's voice shook as he sent an emergency signal to the Dominion High Command. But before the message could go out, a shadow passed across the station window. Dark, colossal, silent. Something was watching them. Something huge. Then the signal cut forever. The station never reported again. Panic in the war hall. Back in the Dominion War Hall, the sudden disappearance of their border station shocked everyone. The Supreme Commander stared at the blank hologram in disbelief. How does an entire station vanish? One general shouted. Was it Earth? Another asked. Impossible, the commander growled. Humans don't have this kind of technology. But deep inside he was no longer sure. A communication drone rushed into the chamber. Commander, we have received a new message. From whom? The drone hesitated. From humans. Gasps filled the hall. Play it, the commander ordered. The lights dimmed. The room became silent. A message appeared on every screen in giant white letters. We are coming. No voice. No symbol. Just those 3 words. The hall exploded in chaos. What does this mean? Are they sending ships? Do humans have a new weapon? No human fleet should reach us this fast. The commander slammed his claws on the table. Humans cannot win a war against us. We have millions of ships. Another general spoke softly. What if Earth did not send ships? What if they sent something else? The room grew cold. The quiet before the fear. Hours passed. The Dominion prepared every fleet they had, thousands of warships, super dreadnoughts, battle stations. Every gun aimed at the border. Every scanner searching for human ships. But nothing appeared. No fleet. No signal. No enemy. Just silence. The commander felt uneasy. He walked across the hall and looked at the giant display of the border region. Where is Earth's answer? He muttered. As if the galaxy heard his question, every scanner and every ship suddenly froze. A new object appeared. Not a ship. Not a fleet. A giant dark shape drifting slowly into car space. No heat. No engines. No radio signals. Just a silent shadow. The commander whispered. What is that? A nervous officer zoomed the scanner. The shape was enormous, larger than any human craft ever recorded. His voice trembled. "Commander, Earth has never built anything like this." The shadow drifted closer. A single cold light appeared at its front, white and sharp like an eye. The officer whispered, "That thing, it's looking at us." Everyone stepped back from the hologram. Humans had not sent a fleet. They had sent something else. Something far worse. And the Dominion finally understood. They had asked for a fight. But Earth had answered with a nightmare. The alien commander, Verwin Kell, waited inside the Great War Hall of the Karzak Dominion. The hall was made of dark metal and glowing red symbols. Every wall showed the same message: Earth has answered. But no one knew what that answer meant. Verwin's eyes followed the hologram of the battlefield, the ruined Karzak outpost, the destroyed scout ships, and the silent black ship that had appeared out of nowhere. The ship had no official ID, no markings, no origin code. It was like a ghost in space. The Karzak had expected a small human patrol, maybe a weak diplomatic team, maybe even a frightened plea to negotiate. But what came was something different. Something wrong. Something unnatural. The Dominion Council demanded answers. So Verwin replayed the footage again. The image opened with two Karzak cruisers approaching a small human research station. The Karzak wanted to intimidate them, force Earth to bow. It was supposed to be easy. Then the black ship appeared. It was not large. It was not armed in any normal way. But the moment it entered the scene, every Karzak engine went dead. The cruisers froze in space, drifting like broken toys. A strange pulse ripped through all systems, shutting everything down. "No human ships can do this," Verwin whispered to himself. Behind him, several Karzak officers argued loudly. It was a weapon. No, it was sorcery. No human has this power. Verwin raised a hand and silence fell. The recording continued. A single human voice came through the comms. "Come, cold, empty of fear. Karzak Dominion, this is your first and final warning. Leave Earth alone." Verwin remembered that voice. It was not the voice of a soldier or a diplomat. It felt like the voice of a judge, someone delivering a sentence. The Karzak cruisers tried to fire, but the black ship reacted before they could charge their weapons. A thin beam of light, no explosion, no sound, touched the first cruiser. In 1 second the entire ship dissolved into dust. Not destroyed. Not blown apart. Erased. The officers in the war hall now watched with wide, fearful eyes. This was no simple weapon. This was something beyond science. Something not made for war but for ending wars. And still, no one knew what the black ship was. No one knew where it came from. Verwin ordered the tech officer to replay the moment one more time. He focused on the human voice. "Leave Earth alone." The message played again and again in the cold hall. Finally, one of the younger officers broke the silence. "Commander, should we call for reinforcements? If humans have such power, we must respond with the full Dominion fleet." Verwin shook his head slowly. "You still do not understand," he said. "Humans did not send an army. They sent a sample." "A sample of what?" the officer asked. Verwin stared at the black ship frozen on the screen. Of all species in the galaxy, humans were always unpredictable. Sometimes weak, sometimes brilliant. Sometimes peaceful, sometimes terrifying. But he had never seen them like this. He finally answered. "A sample of what Earth becomes when pushed too far." The officers shivered. Before they could continue, a new alarm echoed through the hall. A message flashed across the screens in bright red. "Unidentified human signal detected. New vessel entering Dominion territory." Verwin's heart dropped. Another ship? So soon? The room filled again with whispers. What if it's the same type of ship? What if Earth is preparing for invasion? What if this is only the beginning? Verwin looked at the data feed. The new vessel was larger, stronger, and it moved at impossible speed. It crossed several sectors in seconds. He swallowed hard. "Open the comms," he ordered. Static filled the speakers at first. Then slowly a voice emerged. Not the same cold voice from before. This one sounded older, heavier, tired. "This is the Earth Special Response Unit. We request direct communication with the Karzak Dominion Council. No fighting. No threats. Only truth." The officers exchanged confused looks. Verwin frowned. "Truth about what?" The voice responded immediately. "About what you awakened." Everyone froze. The tone was not angry. It was warning them. "Commander," the tech officer whispered, "should we reject the communication?" Verwin Kell shook his head. "No. Connect them. Now." The war hall darkened as the communication link activated. A hologram formed in the center of the room. It slowly shaped into a human figure wearing a dark uniform with no symbols, only a strange silver crest on the neck. The human kept their hands behind their back. Their eyes were calm, but they carried the weight of something terrible. Verwin spoke first. "Identify yourself." The human answered. "I am Director Hale of the Earth Containment Division." Containment Division? Verwin had never heard of such a group. None of the alien empires had. Director Hale continued. "You attacked a human outpost without understanding who was stationed there. The black ship you encountered was not a warship. It was a security protocol. A guardian." The room filled with shock. "A guardian?" Verwin repeated. "Yes," Hale said. "You attacked something you should never touch. And now, Earth must ensure that the threat does not spread." Verwin felt a cold fear crawl up his spine. What threat? Hale looked around the war hall slowly, almost with pity. "The threat you woke up when you provoked us." The hologram flickered. The signal strengthened. And then Hale spoke the sentence that changed everything. "Earth did not send something worse than war. Earth is trying to contain something worse than us." The war hall fell silent. Verwin's heart pounded. Just what had the Karzak awakened? Just what was Earth fighting? And why did humans sound afraid? The galaxy had wanted a fight. But now it was clear. No one was ready, not even Earth, for what was coming next. The war hall remained silent after Director Hale's warning. Verwin Kell felt fear spreading across the room like cold smoke. The alien officers stood stiff, trying to understand the humans' words. Earth was afraid? Of something worse than themselves? Impossible, yet Hale's calm eyes held no lie. Verwin finally spoke. "Director Hale, what have we awakened?" Hale took a slow breath. When he spoke, his voice was steady but heavy. "Something old. Something powerful. Something we keep hidden even from our own people." The Karzak officers exchanged terrified looks. Nothing in the galaxy was hidden from humans, they spread information everywhere. They were loud, emotional, open, chaotic. For them to hide something, it had to be catastrophic. Verwin stepped closer to the hologram. "Explain." "Now." Hale nodded. "You attacked a human research outpost in Sector G17. That outpost was not studying planets or stars. It was studying a signal. A presence." "A presence?" Verwin repeated. "What presence?" Hale's face darkened. "A living intelligence we discovered beyond the edge of known space. Something that does not think like any species you know. Something that does not communicate. It only consumes." A wave of unease rippled through the hall. "Consumes what?" a young officer asked. Hale met his gaze. "Minds?" The room went cold. "It feeds on thought," Hale continued. "On memory. On personality. Any creature that comes too close becomes part of it. Not dead. Not alive. Just absorbed." Verwin felt dread tightening inside him. "And the black ship?" he asked. "That ship," Hale said, "was built to watch and contain the presence. Your attack disrupted its field and gave the entity a path, a doorway." Verwin froze. "So we didn't scare humans," he whispered. "We released something you were holding back." Hale nodded. "That is correct." A deep silence fell over the hall. "Director," Verwin said, choosing his words carefully, "where is this entity now?" Hale's hologram flickered for a moment. Then he said quietly, "Inside Karzak space." The officers gasped. "No. That is impossible," one shouted. "We would detect it." "You cannot detect what doesn't want to be found," Hale replied. "It travels through signals, through energy networks, through any form of communication. When you attacked our outpost, your systems made contact with it. And now," he paused, "it is searching." Verwin's throat tightened. "Searching for what?" Hale locked eyes with him. "For minds. For thought. For the loudest, brightest intelligence it can find." Another officer stepped forward nervously. "If this thing spreads, what happens to us?" "It will not destroy your ships," Hale said. "It will not break your cities. It will simply erase the minds inside them. Your people will walk. They will speak. But they will no longer be themselves." Complete horror swept across the Karzak officers. Verwin clenched his teeth. "How do we stop it?" Hale looked tired, more tired than any human Verwin had ever seen. "You cannot stop it." The room shook with alarms suddenly flashing red. "Warning. Unidentified signal breaching network." Every officer turned to the screens. "No, no, no," the tech officer shouted. Something is inside our communication grid. The screens flickered violently. For a moment, static filled the room. Then a strange shape appeared on the central holoscreen. Not a ship. Not a creature. Just a silhouette. A dark, shifting outline made of moving static, like a shadow that wasn't a shadow. The officers stared with wide eyes. What is that?" one whispered. Hale's voice came through the speakers. "It has found you." The silhouette pulsed. And then, a sound filled the hall. A whisper. Not from speakers. Not from machines. Inside their minds. Verwin gripped the edge of a console as the whisper grew louder. It wasn't language, but it felt like hunger. Like something sniffing the air, tasting their fear. A young officer collapsed, clutching his head. Another screamed. The silhouette stretched, almost like it was reaching for them. "Director." Verwin shouted. "Tell us what to do." Hale's hologram blurred, interference rising. "Shut down your networks. Cut all links. Silence everything." Verwin yelled, "Shut it all down. Now." Lights flickered. Consoles powered off. The war hall fell into heavy darkness. Only emergency lights faintly glowed. The silhouette vanished. The whispers stopped. For several seconds no one breathed. Finally, Hale's signal stabilized again. "You must disconnect all digital pathways," Hale said. "The entity travels through them. You must operate manually. Analog. Physical signals only." Verwin inhaled shakily. "So this is what Earth feared." Hale nodded. "This is why we warned you. This is why we didn't come with armies." Verwin forced his thoughts into order. "Director Hale," he said slowly, "you said this entity searches for the brightest minds." "Yes." "Then why did it come here first?" Hale hesitated. And then in a low voice he answered. "Because it tasted your fear, and it liked it." The war hall fell silent again. This wasn't war anymore. This was survival against something the galaxy had no weapon for. And Earth might be the only species that understood how to fight it. The emergency lights cast long shadows across the war hall. Every Karzak officer stood still, breathing hard as if afraid their own thoughts would attract the thing again. Verwin Kell wiped cold sweat from his face. His army, the proud Dominion fleet, had no weapon for this. Guns, bombs, shields useless. Even their strongest warriors trembled. Director Hale's hologram flickered but remained active. "Listen carefully," Hale said. "What you faced was only a small echo of the entity. It was not its full form. It was curiosity. Curiosity." The word made several officers shudder. "If that was curiosity," Verwin whispered, "what happens when it is hungry?" Hale's face turned grim. "Then entire worlds go silent." A heavy silence filled the war hall. Verwin tried to think clearly. "Director, you said Earth has contained this thing before." "We tried," Hale corrected. "But containment is not permanent. It grows. It adapts. It searches for minds strong enough to challenge it, or feed it." Verwin frowned. "Challenge it? Something like that can be challenged." "It can," Hale said, "but only by those who think like humans." The Karzak officers stared, confused. "Why?" Verwin asked. "What is so special about humans?" Hale looked down for a moment as if remembering something painful. "Humans," he said, "are noisy. Our minds run in many directions at once. We create, destroy, fear, love, imagine, remember, all at the same time. Our thoughts are chaotic and loud." Verwin tilted his head. "And this helps." "Yes," Hale said. "The entity feeds on simple, stable minds. Minds that follow patterns. Minds that are predictable. Humans are unpredictable. We confuse it, distract it, slow it. And for a long time that was enough." A strange chill passed through the room. "How long?" Verwin asked slowly. Hale answered. "Almost 2 centuries." The officers gasped. "For 200 years," Hale continued, "Earth has been fighting this thing in the dark, alone." Verwin understood now. Humans didn't fear the galaxy. Humans feared something the galaxy didn't even know existed. Verwin took a step forward. "Director Hale, if this entity is inside our territory now, what must we do?" Hale's answer was instant. "You must evacuate. Abandon systems where signals were breached. Cut all digital networks. And above all, do not send ships close to the affected areas." A communications officer looked horrified. "But we have colonies, millions of our people." "I am sorry," Hale said. "But if you try to rescue them now, you will only feed the entity faster." The words hit the hall like a hammer. "Director," Verwin said quietly, Please tell us, what does this thing want? Hale sighed heavily. We don't know. It does not speak. It does not negotiate. It does not stop. The best we can do is limit its growth. Verwin clenched his fists. The Karzak Dominion was powerful, proud, fearless. But this enemy was invisible, unstoppable, and hungry. And what about Earth? Verwin asked. What will you do now? The human's eyes hardened. Earth will mobilize our containment fleet. Some of the officers whispered in confusion. Containment fleet? Humans had never spoken of such a force. Hale continued. It is not a normal fleet. It uses old technology, manual systems, no AI, no digital links, no networks. Everything is controlled by humans directly. No signals for the entity to follow. Verwin nodded slowly. And these ships can fight it? They can slow it, Hale said. But we need your help. We cannot do this alone anymore. The Karzak officers looked shocked. Humans asking for help? Impossible. But the fear in Hale's eyes was real. Verwin took a long breath. What must we do? Before Hale could answer, alarms suddenly blared again. Warning. Signal breach detected. Deck 3, command network. The officers panicked. How is that possible? We shut everything down. The backup grid, one shouted. It activated automatically. Static burst across the screens. Lights flickered. And then, a voice echoed through every mind in the room. Not words. Just emotion. Hunger. Verwin grabbed the edge of the table as pain shot through his head. Officers screamed. Some fell to their knees. Director Hale's hologram distorted, his voice barely audible. Shut down Deck 3. Cut power manually. Now. Verwin staggered toward the exit. 3 officers followed him, running down the metallic hallway toward Deck 3. The lights flickered as if something invisible moved inside the power cables. They reached the control room. A thick steel door sealed it, but the security panel showed strange symbols crawling across the screen, symbols no Karzak had ever seen. It's inside, one officer whispered. Verwin slammed his fist on the emergency lever. The door opened halfway, but then stopped, shaking violently. A shadow moved inside the room. Not a creature. Not a person. Just a distortion like heat ripples, but black. The officers froze. The shadow turned toward them. The whisper returned. Softer this time. Gentler. Almost welcoming. One officer stepped forward as if hypnotized. No. Verwin shouted, pulling him back. The shadow stretched toward them, reaching. Human voices echoed faintly through the comm. Hale's fleet was trying to contact them. Verwin made a choice. A terrible choice. He slammed the emergency power cutoff. The entire deck went dark. The shadow vanished. The whispers stopped. But the officer who had stepped forward collapsed, eyes open but empty. His mind gone. Verwin stared at the fallen soldier and felt ice crawl through his bones. This was only the beginning. And the galaxy had no idea what kind of nightmare was coming. The war hall was silent when Verwin Kell returned. Every officer looked at him, searching his face for hope, for answers, anything. But Verwin had none. Behind him, 2 soldiers carried the body of the fallen officer. His eyes remained open, staring at nothing. His face was calm, but his mind was gone, emptied like a hollow shell. Director Hale's hologram flickered back into view. His face tightened the moment he saw the body. It has learned, Hale said quietly. Verwin's heart sank. Learned what? That your systems are weak. That your minds respond strongly to fear. And that it can reach your people faster than we expected. The room vibrated with unease. Director, Verwin said, that officer didn't even touch the entity. He just looked at it. Hale nodded. That is enough. The entity can interact through visual signals and sound. Anything processed through a mind becomes a doorway. Some officers took a step back from the holoscreen, as if afraid Hale's image carried danger too. Hale noticed and shook his head. Do not worry. Our signal to you is heavily filtered. It cannot pass through human analog systems. Verwin stared at the floor for a moment before asking, Director Hale, is this what your people have been living with? Hale didn't answer immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. We lost continents before we learned how to contain it. The entire war hall froze. Continents? An officer whispered. Billions? Another choked. Hale didn't correct them. Verwin understood. The numbers were right. The galaxy feared humans because of their strength, their fire, their unpredictable nature. But humans feared something far worse. Director Hale continued. We survive because of one truth: humans adapt faster than any species. We change. We learn. We evolve our strategies quickly. We become something new under pressure. Verwin's throat tightened. Are you saying humans survived because they were chaotic? Yes, Hale said. And you, Commander Verwin, your people are the opposite. The truth stung. The Karzak were disciplined, ordered, logical, predictable, perfect prey. A communications officer suddenly approached Verwin, shaking. Commander, we have new reports. 3 outer colonies have gone silent. No distress calls. No survivors detected. Verwin's chest tightened painfully. Hale's voice dropped to a whisper. It is spreading. Verwin felt anger rise inside him, not at the humans, but at himself. At his pride. At his decision to attack that outpost. At the Dominion's arrogance. We started this, Verwin muttered. We brought this nightmare into our territory. Hale shook his head. You triggered it. But humans carried it home long before you came. The words hit hard. Verwin forced himself to stand straight. Director Hale, he said, tell me what Earth needs from us. Hale blinked, surprised. You are offering help? We caused this, Verwin said. We will not let it destroy the galaxy. Hale slowly nodded, respecting the courage in Verwin's voice. Very well. I will tell you what Earth requires. Every officer leaned forward. Hale's expression hardened. First, we need your fleet to create a perimeter. A physical barrier. No signals, no transmissions. You will surround the infected sectors and burn all drifting debris. Even a fragment of data could carry the entity. The Karzak gasped. Burn our own space? One officer asked, horrified. Yes, Hale said flatly. You cannot save those colonies. But you can stop the spread. Verwin nodded slowly. Understood. Second, Hale continued, we need volunteers. Verwin raised a brow. For what? Hale hesitated. The silence was too long. Finally he said, for boarding missions. The room exploded with noise. Boarding? Against that thing? Are you insane? Hale raised a hand. Listen. Verwin silenced his officers. Hale continued. The entity leaves behind remains. Not bodies, echoes. Sometimes we can learn from these echoes. Study how the entity moves. How it thinks. What it plans. Verwin's voice was a low growl. You want us to enter infected ships? Yes, Hale said simply. Because humans going alone is suicide. Our minds draw it closer. Your minds attract it less. The room went cold. Less, Verwin repeated. Not none. Hale nodded. You will still be in danger. But your people have a slightly stronger mental resistance to the entity. Verwin looked at the fallen officer on the floor. Slightly is not enough. Hale sighed. Then we do this together. A joint task force. Human and Karzak. An officer behind Verwin shouted, Impossible. We cannot work with humans. Verwin turned and stared him down. You would rather let the galaxy die? The officer lowered his eyes. Hale continued. The containment fleet is already on its way. Our best specialists. Our strongest minds. If we combine efforts we may hold it back. If not. He paused. The galaxy will go silent, one mind at a time. Verwin inhaled deeply, making his decision. Director Hale, he said firmly, prepare your fleet. The Karzak Dominion will stand with Earth. Hale nodded. That is the first wise decision your species has made since this began. Before Verwin could respond, the hall lights flickered again. Every screen turned black. Then, a whisper slithered through the air. Soft, slow, curious. The entity was listening. And it knew the war had begun. The whisper faded, leaving only cold silence in the war hall. Director Hale's hologram blinked out for a moment, then returned, distorted but stable enough to speak. It heard you, Hale said quietly. It knows you are resisting. Now it will move faster. Verwin Kell steadied himself. Fear trembled inside him, but he pushed it down. If he panicked, his officers would collapse. Director, he said, send us coordinates of your fleet. We will prepare for joint operations. Hale nodded. The containment fleet will arrive in your sector within 6 hours. 6 hours. For the Karzak that was fast. For humans it was terrifying, because it meant they were desperate. Verwin turned to his officers. Prepare the perimeter ships. All digital systems disabled. Manual controls only. The officers looked uncertain, but they obeyed. Hale raised a hand. Commander, There is something else you must understand before we begin. Verwin glanced at him. What is it? Hale's eyes hardened. This entity, it learns from every mind it touches. That officer you lost. He nodded toward the fallen soldier. The entity now knows how Karzak minds respond to fear. It knows your emotional patterns, your instincts, your doubts. Verwin's pulse quickened. So the more it absorbs, the stronger it becomes? Hale nodded slowly. And the harder it becomes to predict. Verwin felt the weight grow heavier on his chest. This wasn't a war they could win with strength or strategy. This was a war of the mind. And the enemy was already inside them, preparing for war. 6 hours later, the stars outside the Karzak command world warped with blue light. Dozens of human ships dropped out of slipspace. Not sleek, modern vessels but old, industrial, armored ships with thick plating and almost no digital systems visible. They looked like machines from another era, brutal and simple, but powerful. Human containment fleet. Verwin watched their arrival from the command viewport. His officers whispered nervously. These ships, why do they look like this? So primitive. Is this really all the humans brought? Director Hale appeared beside Verwin, now in person through a shuttle docking with the station. They look primitive, Hale said, because that is the point. No advanced systems. No smart tech. Nothing the entity can jump into. Verwin nodded. Simple, but effective. Hale smiled faintly. That is humanity's specialty. Behind Hale, several human soldiers stepped forward. They wore heavy armor with thick black plating, each carrying analog weapons and strange metal boxes strapped to their backs. These are mind shield units, Hale explained. Devices that block mental signals around the wearer. They will protect your soldiers, for a while. For a while? Verwin repeated. Hale's voice darkened. Nothing protects forever. The first briefing. The war hall filled with both humans and Karzak soldiers. Two species who had been enemies only days before now stood shoulder to shoulder. A massive holomap appeared, this one projected by humans, not Karzak tech. It showed 3 silent colonies, each marked with a red circle. Hale pointed to the first one. This colony went dark 3 hours after your systems were breached. No life signs. No communication. No energy signatures. The entity has likely consumed all active minds inside. Many soldiers swallowed hard. Verwin asked, and the second colony? That one went silent 40 minutes later, Hale said. Pattern is spreading. Faster each time. And the third? Verwin said quietly. Hale's answer chilled everyone. The third colony still has life signs. But the people there are not themselves anymore. A shiver passed through every officer. Verwin stepped forward. You want us to go to that colony? Yes, Hale said. We need to understand the entity's new behavior. If we can analyze how it changed after feeding on Karzak minds, we can predict its next move. And if we don't? Verwin asked. Hale looked around the room, meeting every eye. Then it spreads to the next system. And the next. Until nothing intelligent remains in this sector. The hall went silent. Finally, Verwin nodded. We will go. Hale placed a small metal sphere on the table. This is a thought beacon, he explained. Humans use it to confuse the entity. It produces random emotional patterns. Chaotic signals. It will buy you time. Verwin frowned. Time for what? Time, Hale said, before it notices you. The boarding team. Verwin gathered the joint task force. 10 Karzak warriors. 6 human containment soldiers. Director Hale leading the operation. 2 engineers carrying old-style recording devices. No digital tech. No live signals. Everything analog. They boarded a heavy human dropship. Thick armor, manual controls, no computers at all. As the ship launched toward the silent colony, Verwin stared at Hale. You have done this before? Hale nodded slowly. Many times. Did you always return? Hale didn't answer. Verwin felt a chill. Approaching the colony. The colony drifted in space, dark and quiet. No lights. No movement. No voices. The dropship flew silently toward it. A human soldier whispered, I hate the quiet ones. Hale replied, the quiet ones are the worst. Verwin peered through the viewport. The colony looked abandoned. But something felt wrong. Too still. Too empty. As they approached the docking bay, lights flickered inside the colony, just for a second. Like something inside was reacting to their arrival. Verwin felt the hair on his arms rise. Hale, he whispered, did you see that? Yes, Hale said, gripping his weapon. It knows we're here. The dropship clamped onto the colony. The airlock opened with a slow, rusty hiss. Darkness stretched in front of them. Cold. Silent. Breathing. Hale turned to the team. Remember, he said quietly, no matter what you hear, do not listen. Verwin swallowed. Then the team stepped inside. Into the colony. Into the dark. Into the territory of the thing that consumed minds.